Hey, Worship Leader, welcome back to the channel. I have a special guest, a brand new guest. Brendan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. We're both East Coast people, I just learned.
Yeah, I live in Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C., kind of near Baltimore, in between there.
Nice. I love DC. We've had some vacations up there, actually. I have 3 kids, and we went, actually, in 2016, we camped in New York City. Had a story about that in my studio build video. If you want to go watch that, y'all go watch it. But the year after that, we were looking for something to do, and we're like, why don't we try to camp near DC? And we found a cool spot. I think it was like south of DC, and I forgot the name of it right now. But we camped, and we were planning on tent camping, but when we got there, it was like 97 degrees. And as we were trying to pick out our like campsite, one of my son, he was probably like 5 or 6 at the time, he came up out of the woods and he had like mosquitoes like on his face. I was like, oh no, we can't do this. So they had these cabins with air conditioning, and then it ended up being a great trip. But anyways, man, I wanted to have you on because we've connected just a little bit. I've seen your stuff on Instagram and YouTube, right? As well. Yep. You have a YouTube channel. Yep. And just wanted to come on here and talk gear and pedals because I see that you're into that. And so yeah, I see you got some pedals back there already. I need some pedals on shelves.
You do. You got guitars, but
I got guitars. You have them all. So what I thought we would do is maybe go through. I know you just finished a pedal board. I'm in the process of making a pedal board, and maybe go through some of our top pedals that we thought maybe that we got rid of that we wish we could have kept or something. But yeah. So what's your top pedal, or maybe tell us first what's on your pedal board right now, and maybe you can throw me a screenshot later. We can put it on.
Yeah, I mean, I can grab it. I can show you.
Do it. Grab it. Yes,
let me grab it.
Much easier.
So,
look at that. Yeah, I forgot you got the Tonex.
Yeah, so it's pretty small. And I like, you have some of those boards that are around like the HX Stomp and whatnot. So yeah, those are cool. I like really kind of compact boards. I've had bigger boards in the past and whatnot, but yeah, it's all kind of centered around the Tonex. And I think I've changed it up recently since I've made some videos about it and stuff. Like I added the Eternity from Jet Pedals. Love that. And the GFI Synesthesia. And right now I have the Angry Charlie on there.
Yeah, I love that pedal.
But yeah, so it's pretty small. Right now I just have 2 overdrives. I have the Angry Charlie and the Jackson Audio Optimist. Okay. Which is kind of like a Klon with a like more transparent overdrive on the other side. So I really like that. A lot of these pedals are newer for me. Like I have the Cloudburst, which is a really cool pedal. And yeah, it's pretty simple, but it's all kind of centered around the Tonex. And, the Tonex is like a whole, it's like a whole world, just like the HX Stomp. It's like there's so much you can get into it with it, So
what amps are you running lately in it? Are they your own or ones that were in the unit, or I don't even know how it works really?
Yeah, so you can download them from, they have like a ToneNet like kind of marketplace where people can throw up like free tone models that you download. I think it's kind of similar to like Temper or Quad Cortex. It's like people can make captures, put them up, and you can download them for free. But then people can sell premium ones that you can download and whatnot. So I've been recently using the like Worship Tutorials Matchless Clubman. Been using that recently, and they have like a Morgan AC20 that I've been using. But there's also really cool like free tone models that I've got up there from the ToneNet software. So there's a lot of good stuff on there for free. So. Now,
do you when you play it, do you just run 1 amp at a time? And that leads into the second question: can you run more than 1 amp and blend them? I don't know on that one.
So it's set up to run 1 amp, and that's like basically how I've been using it. But recently I've seen a couple people, in the forums and on Facebook groups and stuff, like talking about how like you can like in the Tonex software and Amplitude, I think you can like blend 2 different amps together and then make a capture of that blended amp and then put that in the Tonex, which I haven't gotten into that yet. It's a little bit, down in the weeds I haven't gotten to, but
Yeah.
it's mostly just one amp unless you want to. I've seen some people run two of them to do 2 amps, but I've just been using one.
Yeah, yeah. And it comes out stereo though, so if you run your effects, you can still have like stereo delays and reverbs for recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I run it in the middle of the board, so I have like my overdrives and stuff up front, then the Tonex, and then like my wet effects after.
The controls on it, when you control the amp, I've watched some videos, and it's when it first came out, so it's been a while. I'm trying to refresh my memory, but the like the bass, the mid, the tone shaping controls, are they like? Does it drastically change the amp? Or is it more like a real amp? Is it like if you take the bass all the way out, is it just minimal tweaks?
I feel like it's kind of like small tweaks, but then there's like another layer of EQ that you can mess with it, where you can like take the mid frequency and like kind of pick where you want to bump it up or cut at. So there's a little bit more you can really tweak with it if you want to, but the way it's like initially set up is kind of like simple. Yeah. Which I kind of like that, because like I like really simple stuff when I'm like in the moment, playing at church on Sunday morning. You really want to tweak something really quick, but then when you're at home, you can really dive in and like start tweaking stuff. So
yeah, okay. So how do you record for your YouTube videos?
I run out of the board and I run into I have a UA Volt 276, and I just run into that. And I recently got the like Walrus like canvas like line isolator thing that they sell. So I've been playing around with that. I haven't recorded anything really with it yet, but it definitely, I feel like, makes the sound a little better.
Does it? Is that a direct box as well?
Yeah. You can like switch between the two.
I know there's some guy on Alex Strumbala. Have you seen him in the forums or the Facebook thing? He's like totally against him. He's like, this is a crock. He's like, there's nothing different. So I don't have no idea. I tend to trust what he says because he seems like he's been in the space a while, but like a lot of people are getting him. I got a friend of mine who got one and he loves it. And so you have one. I don't have one. I don't know.
So I was like, is this all hype and whatnot? And Sweetwater had like the Memorial Day sale or whatever. And I was like, all right, let me just get it. And if I don't like it, I'll return it. So I got it the other day and I was like, all right, I'm going to, try and do a scientific test versus like not having it, then having it. And I definitely obviously it brings the volume up a bit.
Okay.
But it seems punchier to me. I don't know if it's just the volume boost or what, but it seems like a little bit clearer, like on like a little more high end in it, which with Tonex and with like, I used the Iridium for years with both of those. And I think amp sim stuff in general, I always feel like I can't get like the same high end you do from like a real amp. Like it feels like it's a little darker always. Yeah.
So have you've had an HX Stomp before, or do you have one? Have you had any of the Line 6 stuff?
I haven't. I've always wanted to try them, and guys I play with at church all have them, and they sound, a guy I played with yesterday was using Helix, and it sounded amazing, but I've just never had a chance to mess around with them.
I know all the units, I think, especially in a live scenario, maybe even recording in a mix, they're all so good. But I've just heard things like Axe Effects and then even Tonex now, without having one, there is a difference. Like there's a quality jump where like the Line 6 stuff, which I love, I'm bought into the Line 6 stuff. But I think its main thing is that, you have this massive community and the ease of use. But I've always wanted to hear, I've never had another modeler other than Westminster Effects sent me 2 of them. And the one I really loved was the Geneva. And I put it head to head with the AC30 in the Helix. And the Helix AC30, not the Fawn, but the regular AC30 or the A30, they both sound good, clean. But then like, the difference is when you send drives into it or you start cranking them. Yeah. The one in the Helix started doing a back-to-back. It was really noticeable. I mean, some people were like, wow, I've never heard the Helix sound so bad. And I know not all models are the same. I tend to not use that one anyways. I feel like that is probably one of the worst ones in my opinion. Somebody may lie, may disagree with that. Let me know down in the comments. But as you put more gain into it, it just started sounding less realistic. It just had this weird bottom and top end that was like not breaking up like a real amp. And the Westminster Effects AC30 box, I mean, it sounded awesome. And so anyways, go grab one of those if you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like like they're all so good now. I feel like it comes down to the features and like the community, like you're talking about with Helix, and then like sometimes like how does it take the drive pedals that you're using? Because like like I said, I used the Iridium for a long time, and there were some drive pedals like that I really loved when I played them with my amp, and then I used them with the Iridium, and I was like, I don't really like that as much. And then when I got the Tonex, it just reacts differently a little bit. So some of those pedals that I didn't use as much anymore, I tried them out and they sounded really good into it. So yeah, I feel like the Tonex does seem to like take overdrive pretty well, and seems a little more realistic on that end of it to me. But like I said, I haven't used everything else. So
yeah, what real world amps have you had?
So I currently have a Blues Junior, and I've had that forever. And I've played, my church has a couple amps that they had, like for anyone to use on the team. So we have like an AC30. And then other churches that I've played at, we had like a Tyler PT14, like a Princeton. I really love that amp. I've had some of the Jackson Audio or Jackson Ampworks back then, I guess. Amps, and I really like those. But right now, all I have is the Blues Junior, and it's kind of like whenever I want to just have an amp to play with, Yeah, but amps are expensive, so
I'm the same way. Mine's sitting over there. It's the first amp I ever had, and I still have it. But yeah. I had a Tyler HM18, which is the more Voxy kind, but I was so close a couple times to trading or selling and buying that PT14 because I really wanted that Princeton sound, but I ended up getting into modeling before any of that ever happened. So
yeah,
but yeah, I like playing with amps, and there's an AC15 over there. It's just fun to have air moving rather than listen to headphones or studio monitors. Yeah, studio monitors. What do you use?
So when I got into this whole, like forever, I just used headphones. And when I started doing more YouTube stuff and recording more guitar stuff, I was like, I gotta get some studio monitors. So I have the PreSonus like Aris 5s.
Okay.
So I mean, they work great for playing guitar through them and like just recording stuff like that. So
I'm hoping to upgrade one day, but that's just a dream. But I have the KRK Rocket 5, so they're doing great. Okay, let's talk pedals. We talked modular stuff. Let's talk pedals. So I'm going to ask you. You have the Cloudburst, so just prepare some thoughts about reverb and maybe past reverbs. But I'll start. This is the reverb that I got rid of long ago, and I finally bought a new one probably a year ago, and I still have kept it. But this was like my favorite. Let's see if it'll focus. But it's the Mr. Black Eterna. And it has the shimmer knob in it, but you could take the shimmer out and it was still just amazing. And I had it for years and years, and I got rid of it because it's true bypass. So click it off and it was done. And I was like, no, I wanted two reverbs. I want one to be always on because I had the Mr. Black Supermoon, and it was always on. I want this to be super ambient and be able to click it off and like go to the next thing. And it had to come off the board. But and then I saw one for sale on Reverb, and I ended up getting it because I wanted to compare it to my new favorite, which is, wow, white doesn't show up very well. There we go. Revelation. I need to go with the black pedals, but yeah, the Jet Revelation stereo. Have you played with one of these?
No, I've wanted to. I would love to, but not yet.
Yeah. All right. So tell me about the Cloudburst, and then how does it compare? What other reverbs have you had that you've liked?
Yeah, I love the Cloudburst. Like I've played the Big Sky in the past, and I have a timeline. I've been a huge Strymon fan, so I had the Blue Sky at one point. So I was really a big fan of those, but like I showed you, like I like having a really small, compact board that's simple. So even with my timeline, I only use a couple of the presets that I've saved that I really like, and then I used to set them up for each song that I was going to play and just keep it simple. So when they came out with the Cloudburst, I was like, okay, like I can get the sound from the Big Sky that I really liked in the small form. So that's kind of the reason that I got it. And I feel like for me, it does that. And then I have like the little Strymon mini switch, so I can switch between two different sounds on it. So I have like a more ambient sound, and then I have a more just like standard reverb sound set up, and that works really good. But in the past, and I think you asked like some of my favorite pedals of all time, I still have it, the Boss RV5, And this is one of my favorite pedals of all time. So I still love it. I used it forever. I feel like I haven't tried the like bigger Boss Reverb, the
DD one,
the
or
RV500.
RV500. Yeah.
I haven't tried that, but I'm sure I would love it because I love the RV5. And
did you use the mod setting like everyone?
Yeah. I mean, I think, I was a huge fan of John Mark McMillan back in the day, still am now. So I was a huge fan of James Duke, and I always saw him with the RV5. And so that's what inspired me back in the day to get it. And it sounds awesome. I just wish I could switch between, like, if it had MIDI, if they gave me an RV5 with MIDI, I think I could.
You would go back.
That. Yeah.
Nice. So do you use the MIDI function of the Cloudburst? Does it have MIDI? I don't know anything about it.
It does. I don't currently have anything to control with MIDI. I think I was talking to you about that, and how I have plans to build a slightly bigger board and add some sort of MIDI controller to it. So
nice. So is it based off the same algorithm in the Cloudburst? Meaning, like, when you switch to the favorite switch, it doesn't like drop out or anything. It just goes straight to it.
Yeah. And as far as I understand, they like tweaked the algorithm so that when you're at like kind of a like lower setting, it gives you more of like a normal like room sound. And then as it like you taper, like as you turn the knob up, it kind of changes the way that the algorithm works. So I feel like they've tweaked it to make it work for a bunch of stuff, even though it's basically like one algorithm. And then you have like, there's like the octave things it can do. But I haven't been using that much, other than like for some like ambient stuff.
Yeah. Because I like the Jet Revelation, but it's like just like the Helix. Like when you switch presets or you switch an algorithm, then you do get the cutoff. So usually if I have two settings, I just stay on the one, which I like the mod setting anyways. Shimmer's fun sometimes, but I rarely use Shimmer anymore live. But maybe if I'm controlling some like making some pads or something, I throw it in there. But
right.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Okay, because I'm thinking about pedals I'm about to put on my board. So one of my pedals I had a long time ago, back when I had this actually, that I got rid of because it was a little bit noisy, and I don't know if it was the pedal. I don't think it was the pedal. I think it was my setup. But I'm excited to put it on my new board, and that's the JHS Prestige.
Oh, so yeah.
It's just this little mini buffer overdrive thing. It's just one knob, but it brings this like a little bit of low end and then a little high end. It just makes everything better. I don't know. It's like when you like your tone and then you click this on, you're like, oh, it just got a little bit better. I don't know. It's magical.
Yeah, I actually have one of those. It's up on my shelf up there. It's kind of hard to see, and it's a hand painted one that my wife bought for me back when they used to be doing like the hand painted ones. She bought me that as like a Christmas present. But yeah, it's great.
Nice. All right. Well, speaking of, we're heading to the drive stage then. So what about drives? What are your favorite drives? Is it what's on your board now, or is it something that you've liked better?
I mean, I've really, like with the small setup, I kind of like to switch my drives in and out. So I have like some of them are up there on the wall. I have some over on a shelf over here, but I like to switch them in and out all the time. But I really like either tube screamers, like Rat style pedals, Klon style pedals. But I think my favorite of all time that I've had forever is the Morning Glory. So more like a Blues Breaker pedal. So I think the Morning Glory is probably like my favorite of all time that I have right now. And I usually have that on my board. It's not on there right now, but like I said, I like to swap stuff in and out.
Yeah, I did a pedal board build with the Morning Glory with the favorite switch, or whatever they call it, the red switch, and then he also had the Angry Charlie. No, was it the Angry Charlie or the? I always get the. You said you have the Angry Charlie, right?
Yeah,
that's different than the Andy Timmons, or is that the same pedal?
I think the Andy Timmons pedal is like they took the Angry Charlie and added the boost to it, and I don't know if they tweaked any of it, but I think it's based off of the Angry Charlie. He
had the Andy Timmons thing, but that thing it sounded so good. I kept calling it an Angry Charlie because I think I assumed that's what it was, and then finally in like the final video or whatever, I was like, oh yeah, this is the Andy Timmons thing. But yeah, that boost it sounded great too. But all those drives together, and he also had the Prestige. That's what reminded me of it. It's like, this thing sounds so good. All right, our meeting's going to end in 10 minutes. I'll cut this part out, but I'll just keep an eye on it, and then we'll just restart if we need to.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I see some pedals on the back there, the green and the blue. What do you got back there?
The green one is a Tube Screamer, and
I've heard of it.
So yeah, have you heard of it? And I've had that one forever. I love Tube Screamers. I've had a couple pedals that are like based off of it as well, but I've kept that one forever. And the foot switch actually broke on that one, and I like put my own like new foot switch on it, but it's just, I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. I just love that one. And then I have the Boss CE2 chorus. I've had that one for a really long time. That's that one. But yeah.
Well, I've contemplated, speaking of course, I've contemplated on this new board build and this would just be for pure enjoyment, getting the Walrus Audio M1, that the modulation thing. Because I wanted to mention this. I have the Eternity, like you do. This is the white one that hardly shows up on camera. So I'm excited to plug that in, and it sounds good. But yeah, I was thinking about I like the modulation in the Stomp. That's the thing. The Stomp for me, the delay, I love the delays. They sound great. I rarely have a problem with the delay as long as you know how to use them. They have this headroom feature. If you crank that, then you don't have a problem. But sometimes if that's too low, it adds in some noise that I think is supposed to be there. But a lot of times it's unpleasant. Before we leave the overdrive, I forgot about this one. This one's my new baby. Everything's white, so it's hard to see. But
yeah.
I'm excited about this. I don't know how to. Can I make things darker? Oh yeah,
there you go.
There we go. The Kernum Ridge, man, this thing is cool, and I'm gonna set it up on a MIDI pedal, so I can just have just call it. Like there's videos where people like A/B test with a Klon. I don't have an actual Klon, but they do, and so like I can mimic that setting and then just hit the MIDI. I'm like, oh, there's my Klon, or you can do like a nice Morning Glory type sound. It does that pretty well as well. So I'm excited to get that on there and mess with it some more. I've had all these pedals for a while, and I'm waiting on some final things to come for this pedal board build. So I haven't really played with them. My other one is I have the Broken Arrow on my mini board, but I got the Bloom. So I'm excited about that because it's like, I like compression, but then the EQ, you could do like a drastic change or use it. I'm thinking like if I go from guitar to guitar where like I might want to boost the mids when I put in my telly a little bit just because it responds differently to my overdrives. I think I can control this and shape my guitar as it's coming in rather than having to change all my drives. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't have it used yet. I'll probably change my mind how I use it, but then it has that Bloom. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah. I've wanted to get something like the Bloom or a compressor like that has like some other functionality with it for a while. So I actually right now don't have a compressor. And for years I used like a Dynacomp. And I had a couple other compressors, and like I just at some point sold them all, and then like for a few years I just haven't had one. But I've seen a lot of people with the Bloom, and I like that. Like it has the EQ and it has the boost in it, so that's a really cool pedal. Yeah,
I mean it's so expensive too. It's ridiculous, but I was like, the only way I could justify it is that it has like I can get three different settings, so I can have my compression. Of course, it's MIDI. That's the other big benefit. Is like you can call up different things, but being able to have that EQ and even without MIDI, you're like compression, EQ, and then Bloom. There's like 3 different sounds. I'm like that's worth it for me, anyways. So it's definitely not a budget pedal, and I've been in that stage of life, which I am now. I only bought one, but where you got to stick to budget stuff. I know people watching. Some people are like, "Oh, you make so much money." I'm like, no, I had to sell stuff to get that. But anyways, I know how it is. Okay, is there a pedal? It seems like you keep a lot of your stuff, so that's good. But is there a pedal that you've let go that you wish you hadn't?
Yeah, for sure. And I have to see if I can find a photo to send to you of like one of my old boards. But I had a board that was like huge, like it was like the biggest pedal train at the time, like back in the day. But I had the Line 6 DL4. Yeah. The big green pedal. And I love that thing. And then at some point I was like it was when the Timeline came out. I was like, oh, I really need the Timeline. And so I think I sold the DL4 to get the Timeline. This is probably like 10, 11 years ago. But I'm always now like, I wish I still had the DL4.
Yeah. My friend, which you guys have a lot of the same stuff because he has that Canvas, the direct box. He also plays and still plays with a what you mentioned, the Iridium.
Mm-hmm.
And but he used to have the DL4 and he bought the new one, the Mark II.
Mm-hmm.
So he likes it. He's still getting used to it because it's I guess there's like sub menus because you not only have all the Line 6 delays, but you also have all the reverbs in like a sub menu or something. So
yeah, I mean, you with the HX Stomp, I guess you have a lot of that stuff in there already. So
yeah,
I just need to get an HX Stomp.
you just need to get one, I guess. I don't know. I love them. I definitely I like the whole ecosystem. It's nice having the different ones. Plus, I make presets. So if you're watching this, you didn't know, go check them out. I'll link them down below. So you have a YouTube channel. What's it called? I don't think we talked about this. I like saying it up front, but I forgot.
Yeah. It's Sunday Tone, and I started the channel to basically make resources for church musicians and worship leaders, but I kind of had in mind, like, I've played for years at churches, I've led worship at churches, like I've had in mind the musicians that, aren't in all the Facebook groups, aren't, into all of the gear, but they need help like figuring out like what's a good overdrive to get, or like what's a good guitar to start out with. Because like I still play with a lot of guys now that are like, what do I do? Like I don't have any pedals, and like how do I, like it can be overwhelming seeing people like with the huge boards with all the switchers and everything. Like how do I get started in that? So I kind of started it just to help out some friends and people, that are in that kind of situation. But I also enjoy gear. So it's kind of a hobby, like, talk about the stuff and, just build community with other people.
Yeah, man, I know that feeling. I was there for years. I played through that Blues Junior, and I was just asking somebody who was a worship leader. I was like, I want to play electric now. What should I get? I knew nothing. I knew nothing about the history of amps. I didn't know brands. I saw the word Vox one time and I was like, okay, I can tell that's an amp, but I didn't know what to get. And he's like, well, get a Blues Junior or a Pro Junior, but a Blues Junior if you can afford it, and get a Telecaster, that one right there. Same Telecaster I bought in 2009. And then I had a tuner. He's like, you got to have a tuner. You got to stay in tune. And then I had an OD3 overdrive. And I played through that for years without reverb. The reverb on my Blues Junior went out several times throughout the years. I always had it repaired. It finally works now that I don't need it. But it kept going out. That amp has dropped. I remember one time we were loading in the back of a van, going to play somewhere, and they went to open the doors and somebody stuck my amp up at the top, and then it just fell all the way to the pavement. I'm surprised that thing even still works, but it does. Yeah. So I think, I don't know. I keep going back and forth. Like I'm in the modeling world, but the whole like amps are cool. I just don't play anywhere anymore. It's like, it just sits right there. And when I want to feel an amp, I'll plug it in, but there's nowhere to play an amp. Everywhere I play has gone direct. So it's just it's almost unfortunate, kind of,
Yeah. I mean, I like playing them, sitting here at home, or like, it's like long story, but like I played in bands, and like I played in a cover band for a long time. So it was fun playing with like with an amp for that. But at our church, we have like amp boxes in the back, like ISO boxes, and, we can run lines to them, and I've done it for a while, and it's like, it's a lot to set up. And then like we're all using in-ears anyway. So it ends up like sounding the same, or like in some cases, depending on how it's mic'd and EQ'd and everything, it doesn't sound the way you want it to. And it's like not as easy to, like when you have like an HX Stomp or a Tonex or whatever, you can just, bend down and tweak it right there.
Yeah. You just mentioned like sometimes real amps sometimes don't sound as good. And I think one of the areas is how noisy an amp can be. I was noticing that as I was plugging them back in, is like, there's a lot of noise. They can put a gate on it, but I know a lot of times, like when you're trying to do swells, if a volunteer is putting up the gate too much, you'll swell in and then it's there and you're like,
right,
you took away my swells. I'm like, well, your amp's too loud. I haven't experienced that near as much. I mean, at all with the modelers. But so
right,
yeah. Anyways, yeah, I do miss the nostalgia, especially if I'm watching YouTube videos. That's what happens. You see people talking about amps. You're like, yeah, man, that was the good old days. But really, I think we're living in the best days to play guitar because it's just so easy, especially with something like the Stomp or maybe even the Tonex. Does it have like a headphone out? Like you can just play quietly and it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it has a headphone out. I feel like I saw you had some videos about this, but you have tried some of those like Rev amps that have like the built-in 2 notes direct out thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's something I'm interested in too. Like I saw they just came out with like a combo that does a similar thing to where you could like kind of use it like you would your HX Stomp, but then you could also go and use it like a normal amp if you want, which is
that'd be cool. Like if it had XLR out, that would be cool. Somebody needs to develop a stereo amp in one box. You know what I'm saying? Like what you're saying, like if they did that, I don't know if they, but if they could like make dual, like split the IRs or however, maybe like two, like have a double cab and send two different signals that could be mic'd all in one and then have 2 XLR out. That way you could run. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Somebody needs to do that because I would buy one.
Thing. Yeah. I would buy one too. That's right. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on here. This was fun. We'll do it again. We'll chat through some stuff. Maybe next time we'll talk about guitars because it looks like you got a bunch back there, but we'll save that for another video.
Yeah, I told you I need to send you my Tonex pedal so you can test it out.
That's right. Well, hey, just send that whole board over here. I'll test the whole thing out. I know. I contemplated getting a Tonex, but I was like, man, that was probably just something I wanted and didn't actually. I definitely don't need it, but plus I don't have a bunch.
I definitely didn't need it.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. Well, now you have access to a Dumble now. That was like the big thing. They're like, hey, we captured a Dumble, but now you're not using it. I'm not using it now. Well, Brendan, man, thanks for coming on the channel. Like I said, we'll do it again. And hey, y'all that are watching, go subscribe to his channel. Follow him on Instagram as well. And we'll see y'all in the next video.
Yeah.